Hi, in this video we're going to be talking about performance monitoring using PowerShell. So just like with many things you could do in Windows, you could also do the same thing with PowerShell. And actually you could use PowerShell to kind of tweak your commands to make them find some pretty useful information that you might not be able to get using the normal methods. So of course you also have the graphical tools like Performance Monitor, Resource Monitor, Task Manager that you could use. But if you like doing things via the command line, this is definitely the way to go. Alright, so in this video we're just going to show you some examples here and tell you what they do. And of course, as usual, you could always customize these examples, add more information to them to do things such as, give you different amounts of information, different types of information, formatted a specific way, and so on. So just like with most other PowerShell commands, it's not a one-size-fits-all, so you're going to have to do some adjustments to your commands to make them work the way you like. Alright, so let's go over some examples here. So for our first example, we're going to check the current CPU usage using the getCounter command. So this will display the current percentage of total CPU usage for all cores, and it's a quick way to see how busy your processor is right now. So this is for current usage. All right, so here is our command here. All right, so we're going to copy this command here, go over to PowerShell, right-click to paste it in. All right, so it's more than one line, so it's saying you want to paste this anyways because we see that it's more than one line here. So I can click on paste anyway. Press enter. All right, so this is just a virtual machine with only 2 cores, so you'll probably have much more than this in your list here. So it shows the current CPU usage for both cores here and a total. Let's say we run it again. And by the way, this total is not going to be the total of your cores here. It's just an aggregate percentage, so keep that in mind. That's why these don't really match up, because obviously 1.89 plus 1.89 is not 1.89. All right, let's clear the screen here. Move on to the next one. All right, so now we're going to display the disk activity using the getCounter command. So we have 2 examples here, so we're going to start with the basic one. Paste it in. All right, so we have the timestamp, computer name, physical disk, and the disk transfer per second. So you can see it's kind of a hard to read number here, so this is just like a general output for this command. So that's why we're going to try this next one here for more details. So we're going to be sampling every 2 seconds for max samples of 5, so let's paste that in. Let's clear the screen here first. You can see it's doing a little thinking here with the pause. All right, so there are 5 samples every 2 seconds, so you can see a little bit of data transfer going through, but not much to really worry about here. So now, let's do something like copy all of these files into this folder here, and then run this again. So you can see the data transfer number is much larger this time because we're actually doing something on the disk, like so. Cancel this for now. All right, let's clear the screen and move on. All right, so that was showing us how many read and write operations were occurring each second. So if you get a consistently high number, that could indicate heavy disk I/O or background indexing. So even if you're not doing anything and you're still getting a large number, you probably have something going on in the background that you're going to need to investigate. All right, so now we're going to see which processes use the most CPU. So this will list the top 10 running processes ranked by CPU time consumed. So this is good for spotting which apps or background services are hogging resources. And so we'll see this chart here in a second after we run the command. So get process, sort object CPU descending, select object first 10. All right, so here's our information here. So we have handles, non-page memory, page memory, the working set, virtual memory in megabytes, CPU, so total CPU time the process has consumed since it started in seconds, process ID, and the process name. So you may not be concerned with all of these columns, maybe just the process and the CPU information there. All right, let's clear the screen again. All right, so now we're going to monitor network usage. So we have a couple examples here. So this will display how many bytes or megabytes are being sent and received per second on each network interface. So this could help detect ongoing downloads, uploads, or background sync activity. So let's run the basic one first here. All right, so we have the computer name, the network interface, which is the Intel 82574L gigabit network adapter. And it's not showing any traffic right now. So now we're going to try a more detailed command, and then we'll see what we get with this. Let's clear the screen. All right, let's paste it in here. All right, so just a little bit of traffic here. All right, so let's clear the screen and we'll try that again while downloading something. But actually, we'll try playing a video first, see what that does. So not a whole lot of traffic while playing that video. All right, so now we'll download a big file here. Run that again. Now you can see we have much more traffic coming through because we're downloading this big file from the internet. All right, let me cancel this here. All right, let's clear the screen and move on. All right, so now we're going to track CPU usage over time with the same get counter command. Sample interval of 2 seconds with max samples of 10. So let's run the basic one first here. As you can see, we have a similar output here. You can see the value here is changing slightly every couple seconds. All right, so we have 10 of them there. So obviously you could keep this running indefinitely if you want to just constantly monitor it or change your command to have it do so. All right, let's clear the screen here and run the more advanced one here. All right, so you can see this is an easier to read table here. So we have our intervals going here every 2 seconds for a total of 10. And you can see the CPU usage as it varies. So like I said, if you kept this running indefinitely and you just ran whatever process you thought was using up your CPU time, then you can come back here and check the results as you're running whatever you're doing there just to see if that's the cause of your problem. All right, let's move on. All right, so now for our final example, we're going to view memory usage summary. So this shows total and free memory in gigabytes here. Copy this, paste it in. All right, so this shows total memory on this computer 10 gigs, free memory 5 gigs, and used memory about 5 gigs. So it's using about half of its available memory right now. All right, so as you can see, there are many, many commands you could use to find out performance information about your computer. And like I said before in the previous videos, if you've watched those, there are many ways you could adjust these commands to get the information you need. So it's going to be a little research on your end to kind of tweak these commands to make them work exactly the way you want them. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.